Hello, everyone. Good, good night. It's 9:53 p.m. And honestly, my apologize for being late. Um, I was assisting someone who fortunately make a mistake about getting to Mexico and use the wrong way to, through the airport. Because when you are resident, and you need to be careful, care your immigration status as a resident. In this case, that person made that mistake. Well, I was reached out in them because he was on family and how handle this circumstance. Yes, but well, I'm here and thank you so much. If you have that opportunity to watch this stream, and today I bring a very interesting topic. Honestly, all the topics that I share you here, maybe for you would be completely obvious, but those circumstances happens in the real life because you need to understand that residents, maybe residents who they have that opportunity to speak Spanish, understand the culture, understand the immigration procedures between another information, they are more aware for how use data status or handle the information. Yes. And sometimes they are able to understand how apply for family need, how apply for financial solvency, how apply for job offer. If they have that alternative to make videos or make channels on YouTube explain about their circumstance. Yes, as foreigners who they have hold or they are holder in a resident card. Okay, that is the point. But my objective in this streaming isn't trying to share with you why you are able to get residency when you enter as a tourist here in Mexico. All those people who I said in the beginning understand how they can change that condition, immigration condition here in Mexico, but they only know the obvious circumstance, the obvious way, missing another alternative that you are able to get a residency when you are a tourist. Yes, the point here is always I said that in my older stream is Mexican immigration give you a lot varieties of categories. Yes, outside my country, you are able to get residency here in Mexico. Different categories. But here, in this topic, you are able to use one category. Yes, but that category have that alternative to divide in different alternative. Yes, I'm gonna explain with you more in this streaming. Please keep here if you want to know more of if it's very late for you, trying to watch the record when I finish this stream. Okay, let's do it to show my screen because this is the topic how you are able to change your immigration status as resident. Yes, you came here in Mexico as a tourist, maybe because you visit my country, maybe because you came here because you have family and you have any person who is important for you in my country. However, you enter here in this country as a tourist. But the point here, you have that alternative to change that. It's not easy. That is my point because you need to prove certain conditions. Okay, I don't want to give you easy ways or no legal process because it's not my intention. My intention is it is reach out you that you are able to change the tourist visa to resident, but it's not easy. You need to prove certain requirements. Okay. Um, for example, the only category that allow you to change your category to resident is this one, family unit. You don't have another category. Again, let me explain again. Mexican migration law give you different categories. Don't confuse categories for alternative. Okay, categories means different options. For example, financial solvency, job offer, family unit, for real estate, for investor, for invitation for any federal institute here in my country, between another options, okay? Another categories, sorry. But those categories have different alternative. For example, financial solvency gives you two alternative. Which which one? For example, financial solvency for 6 months or financial solvency for 12 months. Okay, they are the alternative. In this case, in family unit is the same. The category, the name is family unit, but family unit have different alternative, and you need to understand that context. Okay. Well, now that you know it, let me explain that. Family unit, everyone who maybe they are not residents here in my country have this mito in Spanish. Tienes que aprender español si también quieres vivir aquí en México, aunque sea un poco. And you need to understand that always foreigners who they live up out to Mexico, out of Mexico, they thinking that you need to get married to a Mexican citizen to get residency. According to those kinds of people, is their idea. You are able to get residency if you get married with any Mexican citizen, woman or man. You don't have another option in family unit. It always, I saw those opinions in difference due to channel. Yes. Well, this circumstance is not a myth, it's real. Yes, you are able to get residency in this alternative. Get married with Mexican citizen. Yeah, in your country or here in Mexico. You get married with a Mexican citizen. Okay. What are another alternatives that you are able to do that? Okay, guys. Before to explain what are those alternatives, you need to understand again the category is family unit. The alternative in my first example is get married with Mexican citizen. Yes, but what is the procedure name about this category, family unit? You need to understand when you change the tourist permit to resident, INM give you different procedures to change your status, immigration status here in my country. What are those procedures named? They are change to temporary resident by family relationship or change to permanent resident by family relationship. Okay? They are the procedure's name. What do you mean that when you fall in those alternatives that I'm going to explain with you more later, trying to find the correct information on official websites, on Google, you use that, or you hire an immigration facilitator, they will uh, reach out you about those procedures names because that's it the goal about this category. Change your immigration status to temporary, to resident. Sorry. But well, divide in different perspective because sometimes any alternative gives you that opportunity to become permanent residency directly. Yes, but there are another alternative who maybe they don't give you directly permanent resident, but they give you temporary resident. Yes, change that immigration status as the tourist to temporary to resident. Okay, but well, that is the name, guys. Trying to find the correct information on internet, on Google, on any official website. Okay, it's important for you because always I said that if you understand Spanish, if you understand, you are able to speak, you are able to communicate with Mexican people in Spanish. Believe me, do this procedure might be completely easy for you to get a positive resolution. Okay, but all depends on your knowledge in Spanish. Well, what are those alternatives? Okay, I show you those alternatives in this maybe cartoon image because you need to understand that not only get married is the option to get residency here in my country, inside my country. You are able to do this procedure inside my country because you need to understand that all the residencies when any foreigner decided to apply for residency here in Mexico, they need to understand that the first step is outside my country. They need to apply in Mexican consulate. Yes, but here in Mexico, when you enter as a tourist, the only procedure that allows you to do this procedure inside my country, here in my country, is the category for family unit. Okay? Because you change immigration status, I say you that. And very well, for example, family unit in this general alternative apply or fall into circumstance. For example, when someone apply for financial solvency, they thinking that his wife or her husband need to apply for financial solvency too. Yes. In addition, of course, the children they are not able to apply for financial solvency as you, as them. Sorry, because of course they are children. They are below 18 years old, and they need to follow you in this new experience to live in Mexico. They are able to get residency linking with you. Yes, but this confused about how my wife or my husband get residency too. because only I am the main um, applicant who have the financial solvency, who have the resources, economic resources to apply directly for temporary residency. Okay? Maybe you didn't hear this information, maybe do, but you need to understand that always when you get your Mexican visa, because you prove that you have financial solvency, you are able to bring all your family with you here in Mexico. Yes, the difference is when they enter in Mexico, they need to enter as a tourist. But you are the applicant, that you are that person who hold a Mexican visa. You need to show your visa because you will start a new procedure in INM. Yes, exchange your Mexican visa to resident card. Okay, but your family they enter a tourist. The point here is when you get your resident card, you are able to give residency at your family, at your wife, or at your husband, at your children's. Always, if your children's they don't over, yes, overpass 18 years old. Yes, if they are below 18 years old, you are able to give them residence. But if they overpass 18 years old, you are not able to give them residence. They need to apply for themselves. Okay? That is the first alternative. You, the first applicant who apply for financial solvency, bring your family here in Mexico. They enter as a tourist, but you enter as a new resident. When you got your resident card, you are able to give residency at your family. Yes, in this procedure is that I showed you in the beginner, change to temporary residency by family relationship. Why? Because your wife and your children's apply for residency by you, by that main new resident. Yes, your family. But sometimes you have another alternative because, for example, the second alternative is adolescence, or maybe your daughter, maybe your son. They are adults. They living here in Mexico. They have a residency here in my country. Maybe they are temporary or permanent residency here in Mexico. But sometimes you're thinking, okay, in my circumstance, I need to apply by myself, show financial solvency, forget temporary residency or permanent residency. Okay? And you didn't realize that you are able to get residency by your son or daughter who they are holders for a resident card. Okay? Your son or daughter who they living here in Mexico as a resident, they have that right to give residency other parents. And you didn't realize it. Imagine that your son who they have maybe 20 years, 24 years, and 29 years, they decided that his mom or his father, or maybe the daughter, and her mom, her father comes to Mexico too. But they don't only once that they came here in Mexico as a tourist. Those your children decide that you comes to Mexico for longer time as a resident. Yes, in this circumstance, the Mexican immigration law allow those older residents card or those persons who they have residency bring their parents. Okay, that's it. Another alternative, and maybe you didn't realize it. Maybe you have someone, your son, your daughter, who they are resident here in Mexico, and maybe they didn't realize they are able to bring at you here in Mexico. But you need to understand something. It's completely different when your parents are living here in Mexico and they decided to bring their children because I told you in the beginning, when your children's overpass 18 years old, they need to apply for themselves. Yes, but if your children that they overpass 18 years old and they living here in Mexico as in residency, they are able to bring their parents, okay, their parents, the mother and father here in Mexico and becomes then as in residence. You are able to do that. You hear this information, you are able to do that. Well, another alternative is, of course, forget marry. This is the most common. This is the most easy information for any foreigners who they are out of Mexico, thinking the only circumstance that I am able to change my tourist status is get married with um, Mexican citizenship. Yes, and I said you no because you have another alternative. Your children, for example. Well, I forget something completely important. Imagine that your children or your adult child, and they study here in Mexico because they got education offer here in my country. If they got residency, yes, by a student. You need to understand that they are able to bring their family too, their parents, and in this circumstance is only you are able to stay here in Mexico according the time about that temporary residency by your son or your daughter. Imagine that they have that permit to living here in Mexico for 3 years because in 3 years they finish that education here in Mexico. Okay, the circumstance here is when that resident card is finished, you and your children and your adult child need to live to Mexico because temporary residency by a student, you are not able to make renew to permanent resident. Okay, only the normal temporary residency have that alternative to change to permanent residency for when you complete 4 years as a temporary residency, you are able to become permanent residency. But when you are a student, you are not able to do that. Yes. And you and your parents need to live to Mexico because you finish your circumstance as a student here in Mexico. Yes. But they are able to bring their parents too. Okay. When I finish this information, you finish the another alternative to get married, you need to understand something. Maybe you get married with a Mexican citizen in your country. Yes, in US, Canada, maybe in France or Spain or Brazil, Brazilian. I don't know, but you get married with a Mexican citizen. Yes, in this circumstance, it is important to know that you are able to get residency. No matter what, you get married outside my country. Yes, the most important here is apostille that marriage certificate. Yes, when you comes to Mexico and do this procedure. Okay, this is the only advice that always I said to my clients before comes to Mexico, and because you decided to get residency by your wife, by your husband, because you get married you when you got married abroad, you need to bring that marriage certificate apostille. Okay, I explain with you in this one. Abroad or here in Mexico, if you get married here in Mexico, well, it's more easy. You don't need to apostille that marriage certificate because it's in Spanish. Speed that document for original um, register civil, registro civil in Spanish, that have that faculty to prove that your relationship with your wife or your husband is authentic. Yes, but if you get married outside, apostille, it's important for you. And the last one alternative, this is the last option, but this is important to know because always I saw those comments on Facebook group. Hey, I get married with a Mexican citizen in my country. And in this relationship, born a boy or my daughter. Yes, that baby have two nationalities. Mexican, because your husband and your wife is from Mexico. They born in Mexico. And your nationality, because maybe you are U.S. citizen, maybe you are Canadian citizen, or maybe you are French citizen. I don't know. But you, with your relationship with a Mexican citizen, born and baby, okay, abroad or here in Mexico. In this circumstance, is the only option that allowed you directly get permanent residency. Okay, is the only alternative that gives you directly permanent residency. Okay, in when you in relationship between married, you need to understand that you are able to get permanent residency while you complete 2 years old. When you renew that residency, of course, you need to prove INM or Instituto Nacional de Migración. That relationship is keeping nowadays. Yes, that relationship with your wife or your husband is established. Yes, and in this case, of course, he INM proof that relationship is established. They give you permanent residency. Yes. However, it's important for you in that 2 years and don't get divorced because if you get divorced, you are not able to renew your residency. Okay? You lost that circumstance to renew your residency by family unit. No matter what, you and got work permit and you thinking, okay, I lost my relationship. This get married is broken and I got divorced. But well, I have work. Yes, I work here in Mexico for a Mexican company because when I got my residency as temporary, and I request a work permit in INM, and they give me that work permit. Nowadays, I working. Well, my relationship is broken, but I can renew this temporary residency with this alternative work permit. The answer is no. The only circumstance that you are able to renew your residency is according to your category. If you apply for family unit, you need to keep renew with that category. If you got your residency by financial solvency, you need to keep renew by that category. Okay, no for alternative. Be careful for it. Well, in this circumstance, 2 years, like in temporary residency, if you prove that the relationship is established, you're able to get residency. In the first, about financial solvency, of course, they are able to get a permanent residency while they complete 4 years. Yes. For example, in the beginning, when you apply for financial solvency, automatically you got 1 year. Yes. In addition, when you got 1 year, you need to renew that temporary residency. Yes. In that alternative is renew to 3 years. Yes. Of course, your family need to renew that by 3 years. When you complete 4 years, of course, the main resident need to renew to permanent. In addition, your family renew to permanent residency. Okay, that is the circumstance. But when you have a baby, a Mexican baby, directly you get permanent residency. In those scenarios, you are able to change your tourist visa to resident. Why? I explain you why. In the baby, I told you, maybe that baby born in your country. But when you enter here in Mexico, you enter as a tourist. Your wife or your husband, because they are Mexican citizen, they enter as a Mexican. Yes, but you enter as a tourist. But for that baby, you are able to change your status tourist to resident. Yes, in this case, permanent residency. Okay. Keeping well, in this table, I share you more in clear how works this circumstance. For example, these situations depend on the card you hold and the family link. Yes. Why I said that? Because well, this is more easy to explain. Your sponsor maybe is a Mexican child because um, in that relationship born a Mexican child, or maybe your sponsor is a partner, who the partner is a Mexican citizen or permanent residency, or so the partner is permanent residency here in Mexico. Or in this case, you get married with that person, Mexican or person who or sorry again organize my English. Your sponsor is your partner is a Mexican citizen. You need to understand that you apply for temporary residency. If your partner is a resident, is a permanent residency, of course, you are able to change your tourist visa back by temporary residency. I told you, when you complete 2 years and you establish that relationship, you are able to turn into permanent residence. Okay? In the last one is if your partner is residency here in Mexico, but your partner is temporary. Of course, again, you are able in this case to change the circumstance. Yes, the change in 2 years to permanent residency. Okay. Now the point here is you are able to do that while if you for example, in this case, for that person who is temporary residency, of course, if that person almost is expired the residency, they need to renew that, of course, um, because um, because in your case you are a tourist, you are not able to give residency for them. But in this case, the only alternative, the only solution that you have is that marriage certificate. Yes, maybe your wife is, or maybe that person who it was residency nowadays is expired. They are no residency. They are expired. And but in this circumstance, that marriage certificate, apostille, you got married with them with her or with him outside my country to renew that, yes, to fix that circumstance, because the key in that circumstance is the marriage certificate. The marriage certificate, no matter what, if your partner is expired or irregular and you are a tourist, both are able to fix that to the resident, okay? Legal resident. You are able to do that. Again, when they complete 2 years together, you need to prove to INM that that relationship is established and you turn into permanent residency. Okay? Sorry, clearing this point. You remember, well, I have had this information. Well, the point here, when you got married abroad, or if your baby, in this case, your baby born abroad too, and in this case, you need to you need to set in your mind when your child born abroad and your partner is a Mexican citizen, and you need to get the birth certificate in the Mexican consulate. Yes, because they have that faculty to give you Mexican birth certificate. Yes, it's the same in your country. You are able to do that because you need to give your nationality, of course. And but in this case, it's that baby who is the option to give you permanent residency. And apart your own country about your birth certificate, you need to register that baby in the Mexican consulate because they give you a Mexican birth certificate. Okay, and you don't need to apostille that birth certificate. But if you get married with a Mexican citizen, in this case, of course, abroad, that document is foreigner. That document is foreigner in my language because my official language is in Spanish. And of course, the most important here, apostille that document in your country. But when you comes to Mexico, you need to translate that document with an official translator in Mexico, not in your country, in Mexico. Why? Because any official translator here in my country, they are registered in database who that base date is official in Mexico nationality or in that state where you're trying to apply for residency. Okay. Well, those official translators have a stamp, they have the signature who is value, yes, who is authentic. If that official translator is registered. Is the recommendation because I am approve documents that is translated for official translator here in Mexico. Okay, trying to be careful in that circumstance. Well, I explained with you what happened with adult child. The most important here is they apply individual and not to the family unit. You need to understand that. Don't overestimate. I understand that sometimes adult, adult child who they turn to 18 years old recently, they don't have a job, they don't have econs. Of course, it's difficult for them, but unfortunately, here in Mexico, when you turn to 18 years old, you are an adult here because you are able to buy beer, cigarette, and the government treat those person as an adult, but yes, because they are able to apply this right. Which one? Vote. Yes, they are able to vote for any, I don't know, postulant president, postulant politics, whatever. Yes, you are able to do that because the Mexican government recognize those people who they turn to 18 years to be adult. Yes, and in this circumstance, about your circumstance, um, your child consider Mexican consulate as no, Mexican government as an adult. Yes, unfortunately, and they need to apply for themselves. The Mexican immigration law gives you that alternative to give residency as your adult child. Always, if your adult child is someone who is not able to live in for themselves. For example, they have a disability or something who you need to, you know, care that adult child. Yes, but you need to prove that with a document. That the adult child is not self enough. Yes, because you need to provide him or her about your circumstance. Yes, it's the only option that you are able to give residency at a to is the only option that you are able to give residency at your adult child if that person is disability. Okay. Well, guys, that's it in this broadcast. Honestly, I hope this broadcast might be um, useful for you. And thank you so much if you finish this broadcast with me. And thank you so much if you are patient to understand my English. Always I said that it's not easy handle a foreign language. More if I don't live in the country whom everybody is speaking English, because in Mexico all speaking Spanish is very normal because it's our official language. But when you fall in empathy, you understand that it's not easy using a foreign language. Yes, no matter what, you study a lot this language. In more, imagine that more when you are in life, in front of your camera, using a new language. Yes, you feel that pressure. But it's important for me give you this information because I told you sometimes foreigners overestimate that the category have different alternative to apply for residency here in my country. And in this broadcast, you understand that you have alternative in the one category. What category? Family related. Guys, thank you so much for being here. And don't forget to subscribe in this channel. Um, do you know about this information who I share with you right now? If you didn't know about it, please put your comment below. If you have any question, please put your question below in this video. And if you hate my anything about this information you didn't understand because maybe you didn't understand my English, no worries. Put that circumstance below. Those comments is some feedback for me. Because to support me to subscribe in this channel of you need to information, more information about residencies, please book a meeting with me. I'm gonna explain with you. I'm gonna give more clear with you. Igual, support you in this journey to get residency. Yes, nos vemos a la próxima. Hasta pronto.